Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our installment of Scott's Selections here for Wednesday, November 25th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up giving out a look-ahead line on a UFC fight happening this weekend. So if you've not checked the video, you can do so. This should be the video right before this one. But for today's play of the day, we finally have the return to college basketball. I know that most people were so used to seeing college football, whether it was the MAC, whether it was the Sun Belt in the middle of the week. Now we actually have a lot of games on the card almost every day because college basketball is finally upon us. I know a couple of games got canceled here or there already. We'll see what happens, but there are a lot of games from pretty much the early or the late morning, I should say, to the very, very late evening, as the first game on the schedule is between East Tennessee State and Abilene Christian at 11 a.m. And then you have basketball all the way through to roughly 10:30 p.m. when you have the tip-off on UCLA, San Diego State. So a ton of basketball. If you have nothing else to do, you're probably going to kick back and end up watching some games, which is definitely what I'm going to be doing. But for the play that we're going to be looking at a college basketball matchup taking place in the middle of the afternoon, it will be between the Drake Bulldogs and the Kansas State Wildcats. And for the play that we're going to be taking Drake plus 5.5, which is available on DraftKings at minus 110, a time recording of 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, a couple reasons why I like Drake in this spot. First of all, the line movement definitely favors Drake in this spot. I wrote an article about this matchup yesterday, and the line was at Drake plus 7.5. That's already plummeted to 5.5 on DraftKings, but it's even plummeted more on other spots. You have FanDuel, Fox Bet, BetOnline, all three books have Drake currently listed at 4.5. So you can pick up an extra point of value there if you use DraftKings right now. So that's one reason why I like Drake plus the points. The other reason is why I think Drake has a serious shot to even win the game, in addition to covering the spread. Drake, simply put, has a ton of experience from last year's team. They bring back three starters. I know they ended up losing their star center in Liam Robbins, who transferred to Minnesota. But Drake still has a ton of talent, and people can talk about mid-majors and how there are a lot of underrated teams in all of college basketball. Drake might not have actually made the NCAA tournament the last couple of years, but ever since Darian DeVries has gotten there as the head coach, they've been really good. They have won at least 20 games in each of the last two seasons. So they really know what they're doing over there. They seem to be building a pretty good program as a mid-major, and they should be poised for another solid season for potentially reaching a solid win total in this season. Meanwhile, Kansas State enters this season off the worst season it's had in the program in a long time, as Kansas State ended up going 11-21 last year. They finished in the basement of the Big 12. They were arguably the worst team in the entire conference. And I don't exactly think that this season will be much better. A couple reasons why Kansas State, besides the current roster, which wasn't very good as it only had 11 wins last year, they lost each of their top three scorers from last year, as Xavier Sneed, who averaged 14.2 points per game, left. Cartier Diarra, 13.3 points per game left, and McCall Mawian, 7.4 points per game left. So Kansas State, in addition to just not being a very talented roster, now loses each of its top three scorers. It's a very young team, and I do think this team will have a ton of growing pains, as this seems to be a bit of a rebuilding year for the Wildcats. Plus, a lot of people look at Kansas State and notice their extremely, I'd say, powerful home court advantage at the Bramlage Center, or at the Bramlage Coliseum, I should say. And Kansas State tends to use the crowd pretty well, which is why they're always able to beat Kansas in home games, etc., because they're able to ride the momentum of the crowd. However, Kansas State has already announced that there will be no fans in attendance for the month of November. So keep that in mind. And for that reason, this will be an empty arena. Drake has the better overall roster. Kansas State isn't very good and still very, very young. I think Drake getting 5.5 points is a very solid deal. Kansas State, I know there might be some games canceled or a shortened season, etc. If this was a full season, this team might not win 10 games. This team is awful. I think Kansas State will be the worst team in the conference once again. Drake should be pretty good in their conference once again. Of course, the absence of Robbins is a pretty big deal, but I do think Drake will find a way around it with the experience, and I do think that DeVries will be able to come up with a pretty solid game plan to help Drake stay competitive and potentially win the game outright. I think Drake has a shot to win the game, but at 5.5, I got to take that at minus 110 on DraftKings. That is going to be the play of the day. Other than that, that's installment Scott Selections. We're going to be continuing with college basketball tomorrow with the joint show with Scott Steen, as we're kind of transitioning a little bit. We're still going to be keeping the college football shows for the weekend, etc., and the NFL. But of course, pretty much every day now is going to be a college basketball day. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, though, good luck to all of you and your respective best today. Bye, everyone.